I'm back with another video. So today's video, I will take you guys to class with me on a field trip called The Plant. It's a field trip about learning about organic foods, how they grow food, make ice, cheese, and other things that we also use on a daily basis. But it's naturally made. So, I hope you guys like this video. If you do, put a thumbs up, hit the notification bell. And also, on the right-hand corner, my self-love weight loss journey will also be posted, okay? So, stay tuned for this vlog. I hope y'all like it. I know I enjoyed it, so welcome back to Shaylynn's TV. And also, today is Thursday, September the 7th, 2023, and the time as we speak is 9:30 a.m. So I'll be taking you guys with me on my field trip today for class, and I really did enjoy myself. And also, the food was fantastic. We had all vegan food, everything. So I won't be in the whole video showing y'all or talking to y'all like I normally do. So this is my intro, and just enjoy the video. If you like it, like, subscribe, comment for more of Shaylynn's TV. Okay? So yeah, so I will see y'all in the next video. But enjoy learning about organic foods and the things that they make, because the food was delicioso. So yeah, so peace. See y'all in the next video in Self-Love Weight Loss Journey for episode 5. A turtle. Y'all. Yeah, this is they gonna eat them.
And I'm not sure about that. We can do that work without thinking about how we care for things and other living beings and the planet. So John is a leading voice, in that universe of how do we can't keep putting stuff into landfills and think we have a future, right? And he's done a lot of work around this for a long time in Chicago before it came to all of our attentions because of the current climate crisis. So that's why I've always wanted to come here. But we're here because Deborah made a connection with John and other people who own and work here. And that is testimony to the way we own together Red Line Service. And the fact that so much of what we do is brought to us by our community and made and constructed by our community. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for sharing what you know with us.
Well, welcome to the plant, everyone. You're in a just about 100-year-old former pork packing plant. And so in this building for about 90 years, they made bacon and hams and had big smokehouses up on the second and third floor, which you'll see. I bought the building in 2010, and we started to transform it into a small business food incubator. So what that means is we create jobs. We create jobs in the food industry. And so we've got 20 different small businesses here, all of them very local, who employ people from our neighborhoods here, from back of the yards, from Englewood, from all the area around here, and about 105 full-time jobs in the building, which we're very proud of, because this was a cast-off building in a cast-off neighborhood that was sold for the price of the scrap metal inside it. That's what I bought it for. Was the price of the stainless steel and the copper. And the previous owners didn't see any value as a food production facility anymore. They just wanted to get rid of it. I looked at it and said, that's actually a food grade building, and yes, it's a century old, but it still has a lot to offer, and it still has a lot of things that would cost you a whole lot of money if you had to recreate them. So if you were a giant food company, you don't want to operate across 4 different floors of a building. It's not very efficient. But if you're a small business, it doesn't really matter, because you'll just have one space on one floor. And so what we try to do here is we try to provide economies of scale for small businesses to help them compete with big businesses. So that's important because it is exceptionally difficult to compete and to make any money at all. And if you want to pay people, you have to be able to make a little bit of money in your business. So the only way to do that is to have these economies of scale. So by that I mean things like help with engineering and climate control and food grade surfaces and how to build a kitchen and all those things that are very complicated if you're a small food business, and you may be very good at making cookies or have some skill that you may have some skill that you're very good at that has something to do with brewing or baking or kombucha or whatever it may be. But the chances are you're probably not very good at engineering and piping and electrical and all of those kinds of requirements. So that's where we come in, and that's where we help people. Of the 20 small food businesses here, we're over 50% women-owned businesses, as a matter of fact, and doing a variety of things from coffee roasting, baking, brewing, kombucha, fermented tea, basically, delicious stuff. We have 4 indoor farms. We'll see one of those farms downstairs here. And all of these businesses have one thing in common. They're competing in the larger world. And so whatever we can do to make it possible for them to function is what we do. So with that, we're going to walk around a ways. For those of you that need an elevator, we do have an elevator, but it's pretty small, so we can't fit everybody in there. So what we're going to do is go down to the basement. There is an elevator in the front here that's push-button operation. And the rest of us will go down the stairs. I guess we should probably all go this way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, those pretty. Vegetables. They still good. Oh, these them good plants. They grow long. Yeah, it is moist. Surprising in a basement.
Well, they got it for this here.
Because of the plants.
Okay, so we're down underneath the lobby where we started earlier, and that's why the ceiling is low here. Because that lobby used to be a set of truck docks, and we had 7 docks. We didn't need these 3, so we turned them into our wetland upstairs, and you saw where there were plants and fish and turtles in there. We actually use wastewater to supply the plants in there. Right now it's mostly fed by rainwater from the roof, but we're harvesting about 2/3 of the roof area of the building. That's about 20,000 square feet. That's a lot of space.
Yeah.
And we store it in giant tanks, big salvage tanks, and then we pressurize it and pump it to the farms. That way we're not using city water, and that saves a lot of money, and it also keeps rainwater out of the sewer system, because this neighborhood, our sewers are brick and 150 years old, and they're not big enough to handle the load. And so we have no choice but to do something else with the water. So we store it in big rain events in these huge tanks and then pump it to the farms. So what I wanted to show you down here, you see the portholes, and this is one of the smaller grow rooms in the building, and it's some of the cheapest and ugliest space you can rent anywhere. But the point of it is, this material, this ugly material here is called FRP, it's fiberglass, and it's food grade. And as ugly as it is, you can wash it down, and you can pass a health inspection in a space like this. Not in the hallway, but inside of these spaces. And so we can make space available to a food business that can have an inspector come in and pass them and get through the whole licensing process. And we can do it in a space that's very, very cheap to rent. So that's unusual, because usually food grade spaces are very expensive. So we have started a lot of little businesses in this room here. Some of them for as little as $50 a month in rent, including utilities, which won't even get you a parking space in Chicago. So the farm that we're going to see around the corner is called Closed Loop Farms, and they started for $50 a month down here, and they grew and grew and grew. They supply microgreens to restaurants mostly and direct to consumers. We deliver it around the city. When the pandemic hit, they had 13 full-time employees, and they had 150 restaurants that they supplied, and overnight they lost 100% of their business because all the restaurants shut down. And in 1 week's time, they wrote a new website, and what they did was they aggregated food products from 30 small companies around the south side and west side of the city, from little tiny producers of kombucha and beer and flowers and bread and all sorts of other things. And you could go on their website and buy from 30 different small businesses. And so for people that were looking for options, because everything in the food business was totally thrown up in the air when everything changed with the pandemic. And so now people could go to their website and buy all this wonderful stuff and have it delivered to their door. And so in 1 week's time, they reinvented the company and kept 13 people all full-time on staff without missing a single paycheck, which, you know, obviously is a really important thing, and in a completely new business. And so when the pandemic ended and the restaurants reopened, they were able to get back into that business, and so now they do both things. But we're very proud of them for doing that. And it was a case where this guy came to us, and he was young and he was ambitious. We thought he was a little bit nuts, and he didn't have any money, but he had a lot of great ideas, and so that's why we made the rent so cheap. And he just had a little area to work in, and he grew it, and like I say, now employs a lot of people, so that's wonderful.
What about the cannabis plant? Can that be?
Not in this building. We do only food here. So, okay, we're gonna go around the corner into the farm. It's a high-value product, and it makes sense to grow indoors in a city because we're reducing the transportation cost and the pollution that's created, and doing it inside of a building, there's no pesticides required because we're in a controlled environment. And so everything is all natural, and so it's very clean, there's no chemicals involved at all, and year-round. So it doesn't matter if it's February, the crop is the same.
The heart rate. Okay. Wet. The dungeon. What up, Max? It's nice. Away from me. See the whole world. Chicago. Sorry, excuse me. Whoa, this is so cool. Look at my house down there, you guys. Welcome to the planetarium.
We do that are recycling carbon dioxide from brewing beer downstairs, and we pump that carbon dioxide into bioreactors and into grow rooms because plants need carbon dioxide, and it doesn't make sense to buy it if we have loads of it coming from the fermentation process downstairs. Things like heat and oxygen are all recycled within the building. Oxygen from the grow rooms, heat from grow rooms and from the brewing process. We move it in fairly simple ways, just with big blowers, essentially, and moving the air around. There are a lot of very simple ways, and a lot of what we're about is finding simple ways that don't require a lot of money or technology. So on the subject of money, I have an art degree, so I don't have any money. My dad never graduated from high school. He was an immigrant, and he was drafted when he was 15 years old and never had a chance to make any money in this country. And my mother worked for a nonprofit part-time, so our family didn't have a cent. But how we do things is we work entirely within the waste stream that's around us. Hang on. And we try to find salvage materials. So we work with distributors that are throwing things away, like drywall that has broken corners, or steel studs that are bent or have some surface rust, insulation with torn packages, that kind of a thing. And we say, okay, we can save you a bunch of money because you don't have to dispose of this. If you just give it to me, we'll get it. We'll come and get it. And so that's one way that we're able to do projects like this. A lot of volunteers were involved in the initial construction on both of our buildings. We have a building on 37th Street called Bubbly Dynamics, which is home to something like 50 people work there who are artisans and small manufacturers. So they're making products in a cooperative environment, and they work together. And we work with them, again, to find cost savings. And so development doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Again, buildings that are derelict, that can be renovated. That other building, Bubbly on 37th Street, had whole courses of brick peeling away from the sides, no roof, literally no roof, and all the windows were smashed out or boarded up. It was heated with burn barrels inside.
37 to 1.
Around Morgan, between Morgan and Racine, in the Central Manufacturing District. And it was occupied by a motorcycle junkyard and a white-powered biker gang. So there were a bunch of really awful people in there who I had to clear out before we could start doing anything. And there was one good guy, there was Santa Claus. He hung around, and he was a scrapper, and I used to do a lot of trades for materials with him. But Cowboy, the Boob, Goobs, Mac, all those people are gone. Cowboy's in prison for life. He's actually in protective custody. He ratted out Joe Calabrese, a notable mafioso, who was also his protector. So Cowboy's long gone. But Cowboy was on 3 strikes. His final act was killing an elderly gentleman for $37 that he had in his pocket. So that was kind of the caliber of the people that were there. And I naively walked into this saying, I'm going to renovate this building and do all these things. And so, wow, it was a steep learning curve. But, you know, if you're going to start with a derelict building, you're going to start there. And that's how this all works, is what we call slow money. So again, art degree, which is, you know, not valuable, and no money coming into it. So you have to find a way to do these things outside of the normal structures. And that's what we've done. So, I'm sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, have Channel 11 reached out to you all in it?
Oh, we've had Channel 11's been around here. We've shot some things.
They haven't publicized anything?
Oh, they've shot some things here, mostly about the museum and the history of the stockyards. We've had a lot of press from all over the world, actually. Everything from Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Al Jazeera, lots of press has been here. We're actually a lot better known in Europe than we are here in the United States.
That's to appreciate you more.
So a bioreactor is a growing system. So in this case, it's usually glass tubes filled with algae, but it could just be a tank. It could even be a 5-gallon bucket. But if you're growing something in there and you're putting in the inputs, bioreactor is kind of a catch-all term for anything that we grow. Typically plants of one sort or another in there, usually waterborne plants. So, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to, rather than going to the museum right now, we'll talk about the history of Packingtown and labor history and immigration history and all those things while we're in the museum. So up here, chocolate making, mushroom cooking. So there's a company called Fungatopia. which makes with wonderful oyster mushrooms in sauce that they sell in stores, and then they also serve in some cafeterias at some local universities. And then Great American Cheese Collection is in here, so they distribute domestic cheeses, so ones that are made in the United States, high quality cheeses to restaurants and hotels. And then in here in the yellow room is Sacred Serve, and they aren't doing any production here anymore because they got so big that they had to move to a giant co-packing facility, a big factory somewhere else, because they're in national distribution now. And it was founded by a woman named Kaylee Donewald, who is a local Chicagoan who started in a very small space inside of one of the kombucha breweries here, and grew her business and grew it and grew it and grew it. They took over more and more space, and then finally got into Whole Foods across the country and a lot of other stores, and there was no way they could make enough gelato, it's ice cream basically, in this building to satisfy the entire country. So that's what they're doing. And then we've got San Martin. They're the ones that are catering your lunch today. And it's vegan soul food and comfort food. They're down at the end of the hall. It's all vegan? Yeah. And we have four-letter word coffee roasting, which is high quality coffees from around the world. Direct trade, which means she buys directly from the farmers instead of going through middlemen and distributors, so more money goes right to the farmers, which is important to us. Yeah. Then we have kombucha, again, brewing kombucha that's in stores all over the place. I'm missing a couple here, and then we'll go in the museum for lunch in a little bit, so you'll see that shortly. Before we do that, I think we're going to go upstairs, but not quite yet. Along here, you see the smokehouse bathrooms, and so these are former smokehouses, and they used to be in big lines facing this direction, about 35, 40 feet long, and raw meat would go in one side, and they had gaskets that would pressurize and seal them up tight, and they would smoke bacon and hams and other deli meats in there in about 45 minutes, and then the products would go out the other end and get processed and packaged and shipped out to stores and restaurants. So we cut the ends off and moved them all around on this floor to make them into bathrooms. A little unusual, but I wanted to keep alive some of the history of the building, because, and we'll talk about the history a little bit more when we get into the museum, but very few people, unless you work in one, have ever been in a meatpacking plant. And it's very different from a normal building. This building was more like a machine than a warehouse was. So,
were these freezers at one time?
Smokehouses.
Oh, smokehouses.
Smokehouses.
Freezers.
Right. Not freezers. No. So I think what we're going to do is, let me see what time it is. Oh, we got a lot of time. Conrad wants you back down for the ice company, so it's too late. He said he knows some of you, so he does?
I know him. I've known him for several years.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Whoops, you coming through? Yes, please. Okay, let's.
I have no idea what this is, but this is nice. It's cool. It's a class video. We're going to eat lunch.
Everyone, let's give John our attention. I think I heard that there are people whose parents worked in this industry and in this area. You worked in, and you lived in the area, right? So thinking about
The first meal, all of this you guys you see on here, this is all vegan. And this is a salad. It look like it's spinach and some other stuff. But I know it's gonna be delicioso, okay? Take a picture.